Hey, it's Kyle. I just got back from the bookstore and I purchased a ton of books. So I thought it'd be a good time to do a book haul video. The first few books I'm going to talk about are all books I bought because of the YouTube channel We Read Books. I am a member of We Read Books. I'm one of the people that does book reviews there. But these books are ones I bought because of reviews that other members of the channel have done in the past. So the first one is Leviathan by Scott Westerfeld. Holly did a review of this one. Alternate history, mixed with a little bit of a fantasy / sci-fi element to it. So it sounds like really interesting because alternate history and kind of sci-fi are probably my two favorite genres. So kind of mixing those two together in this book sounded really interesting to me. So I'm really excited to read this one. I know Holly really seemed to love it, so I'm sure this will be a great book. The next book is also another one reviewed by Holly, The Maze Runner by James Dashner. This one, from all the descriptions and reviews I've seen of it, is very similar to the Hunger Games, the same kind of themes and ideas behind it. And I love the Hunger Games, and this it sounds like it's unique enough that it's not like you're almost just reading a ripoff. It sounds like, it's just the same theme and ideas, but it's still a great book on its own. So I'm really excited to read this one. Again, that's another book that Holly recommended. Then you have a book that Billy recommended, The Forgotten Legion by Kane. I'm a huge history buff, so I love any novels that kind of set themselves in a historical background. And Rome is one of my favorite topics of history, so I'm sure this book will be great. I know from the review that Billy did, it sounded like it was a really interesting book, so I'm really looking forward to reading The Forgotten Legion. So those are the three books I bought because of We Read Books. The other ones were all ones that I kind of got on my own. The first two I'm going to mention are two sci-fi classics that I've always wanted to read, but I've never got around to, and I should have done this a long time ago, because several of the sci-fi authors that I really enjoy, all these two books, is huge influences on their work, so I should have read these a long time ago, but I just never got around to it. The first one is Dune by Frank Herbert. I've seen the movie adaptations, sorry, I can't speak today, of Dune, and I really enjoyed them. I just never read the book. So I'm really excited to read this one. And the same thing goes with Robert Heinlein's book, Starship Troopers. Again, I've seen the movie, love the movie, really excited to read the book. Like I said, I should have read Dune and Starship Troopers a long time ago. It's one of those, I just never got around to it, so I'm finally correcting that mistake. The next book I'm going to mention is Liberating Atlantis by Harry Turtledove. This is of the Atlantis series that Turtledove does. I've read the first two books in the series, so this is the third one. Very good series. Harry Turtledove is one of my favorite authors. He's considered probably the best author in the alternate history genre. So this is a series I'm really enjoying a lot, so I'm really looking forward to reading the book 3 of the series, Liberating Atlantis. Next, as I mentioned earlier, with my interest in history, I really love anything that's connected with Rome. So I'm reading another book by Harry Turtledove. This one's set in Rome. It's called Give Me Back My Legions. So I'm really looking forward to it. It sounds like it has somewhat of a similar ideas as the other Roman book I mentioned earlier. Sorry, The Forgotten Legion. Forgot the title for a second. But they both sound like that. I love everything that Turtledove's written, so I'm sure this will be interesting. And I'll be interested to see how those two books compare. Next is a book I got, Sisters Read by Jackson Pearce. This is another book I got because of YouTube. I subscribe to Jackson Pearce's channel. I really enjoy it. She has a great YouTube channel. I find it interesting too because she also lives in Georgia in the metro Atlanta area. She actually lives in Atlanta itself. I live in the suburbs. So sometimes she mentions stuff that kind of going on in the area, which I always found interesting. And I really enjoy her channel. It's really interesting. It's really funny, really smart. And she describes her book on there a lot, and it sounded interesting. It sounded unique. So I thought I'd give it a try. So Sisters Read by Jackson Pearce. Next, this is the only non-fiction book I got today. The French Revolution, A History by Thomas Carlyle. I really love nonfiction books. In fact, I usually try to keep it fresh. I usually try to rotate fiction, nonfiction, fiction, nonfiction when I'm reading. The reason I got a ton of fiction books today is that I'd actually had, the previous times I went to the bookstore, I've got a lot of nonfiction books, so I needed to kind of replenish my fiction supply. But I wanted to get a book on the French Revolution. It always interested me, but I never read a book specifically just about that topic. So this one's supposed to be very good. It's considered the best historical account of the French Revolution ever written. So I'll be interested to see how it goes. Like I said, I'm a big history buff, so I usually always love history books, so I'm sure this will be a great one. Oh, and I don't know if I mentioned it's by Thomas Carlyle. Lastly, the last book I got, and the most expensive by far, is Star Wars, the Thrawn Trilogy. This one will take a little bit of explanation. The Thrawn Trilogy is a series of 3 books written by Timothy Zahn that is set after the Return of the Jedi. There's been countless Star Wars books written. I've read over 60 or 70, I believe, at the last count. And they all are in the same lineage. So all the books go together. None of them contradicts each other, although they have several different authors. And within these multiple books that have been written, they usually get broke down into mini-series. So there might be 3 books, a trilogy, or you might have an 8-book series or a 10-book series. I think there's been some as long as 20 books. And there's every once in a while there's a standalone book too. By far my favorite series on the book side of it is the Thrawn Trilogy, because it deals with, in my opinion, the best villain ever created in the Star Wars universe, be it movies, books. Grand Admiral Thrawn. He's just by far the most interesting villain ever. It's almost impossible to describe why he's so good, but he's just the best villain ever. I mean, I'd love to see a movie with him in it so bad. But the explanation behind this book is that series was so popular it actually spawned comic books kind of to tell the story of Grand Admiral Thrawn. And this book is a collection of those comics. So I've actually never read the Thrawn comics, so I'm really looking forward to doing that. I'm not really a comic fan, but I'm such a big fan of Grand Admiral Thrawn that anything he's in, I will take a look at. So the Star Wars, the Thrawn Trilogy, really looking forward to that one. So those are all the books I got, so I'll be set book-wise for a while. It'll be a while before I have to go back to the bookstore. But I'll list all the books that I purchased today and the authors below in the description box, and I'll also post a link to We Read Books, the book review channel I'm a part of. If you love to read, I strongly encourage you to check that channel out. There's 10 members of the channel at the moment, and we all review different kinds of books, so it's a great way to kind of find out about some interesting works of literature out there that maybe you should check out. So I hope you'll check out We Read Books, and thanks for watching.